Okay, yep, it's recording. Okay, we are recording. It is the July 10th meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Present, we have Birch Gregg, Dwight Youthy, and Caitlin McCumsky. Jeremy did let me know that he's not able to attend this week. He is out of town. So we just have one item on our agenda, but it's a big one. I had emailed out the updated comprehensive plan document, both the red line version as well as one with the tracking not on. So I don't know, do you guys want to go section by section and Mhm.
I went back, we read the two graphs, and one is the red line, like you said, and that
Yep.
changes,
Correct.
but there's a lot of lines.
That's stuff that was removed.
And the other one, just everything's put in there. This is the package.
Correct. Yep. So the content is the same. So anything with a line through it is something that was removed. Anything in red is something that was added. If it's in black, it was something that was existed that wasn't changed. There's quite a few pages. Yes.
How are we going to? You did the informational meeting and wonderful job.
Thank you.
Did. And how is this going to be different than that? You want to know where the changes?
So we didn't review the changes to the actual plan. We sort of just talked about what a comprehensive plan is and the history of comprehensive planning, the survey results. So the public hearing, we're gonna talk about any changes you guys have. We'll make those changes and then this will be submitted to the town board, I'm hoping next week. And then they'll have a couple of weeks to review it. And then at the public hearing, it's their opportunity to give us any feedback. And then the public also has a chance to be heard as well. So based on any feedback from them, we'll make any additional changes and then it'll go back to the board for adoption after it goes to county planning and we do the seeker. Yeah.
And will we give it to the board and the book camp also post it on the website? So
Correct. I was hoping to have it up on the website. I think my website contact maybe has his hands full right now. I'm not sure he got a chance to put it up.
No other versions. The one that is no Reddit has everything in it that was changed.
Correct.
but we're gonna make some other changes. Right. Because we got what we got. I have some comments.
Yep.
Okay. You wanna walk? I mean, okay, on the first page, why do we have that yard?
I didn't know. So historically, that's how they had former. So they're listed as past members. That's how it was before.
Yeah. Is this the non-red?
Let's do the red version because it'll be easier to look at what was changed. Okay.
So anyway, that was.
Yep.
Right in there.
Gone. Got it.
So I had to print it out because I'm using Word, I'm making a change.
I'll let it slide this time.
Well,
As long as you promise to recycle it.
what's that?
As long as you promise to recycle it, I'll let it slide.
Of course,
I know you will.
we have a recycling bin at home. Um. Okay, so the plan, 1.0, you have to still insert the plan was adopted by the town board.
Yeah, because it hasn't been adopted yet.
Okay. Where am I? 7. If I printed everything out.
And if you guys think of something after tonight, you can always email me too.
Yeah, I had a ton of stuff, but somehow. Okay. You send me what you have.
The red line version?
Yeah.
I think it's easiest to look at the red line version because that's
You
highlighting the
can just send me
changes.
that because I have my first. Apparently I started on page 7 and I should have started earlier on my printout. I don't know. Do they show up on the iPad?
Yeah, they did.
They did?
Got all this today. So we're a lot. A lot of red.
You know, just while I'm sending this, one observation I had is that the sections I thought would have the most changes had the least, and the sections I thought would have the least amount of changes seem to have the most. Which just surprised me.
Okay, I can start with 1.2.
Okay, and I did just send that over too.
Let me,
There is no 1.2. Do you mean 2.2?
hold on a minute. Let me open what you just sent me. My online.
Right.
Do you want, would it be easier for us all to look at it on the big screen? Do you want me to pull it up there?
Sure.
Okay, give me 1 second. I gotta, get it. Mail.
They came up. And on my iPad, it doesn't come up.
Right,
Uh-huh.
that's
Oh,
because you're looking at it on your browser instead of you're looking at, do you have Word at home?
yeah,
Yeah, so you're looking at a Word in the program,
and so the laptop would put that up.
but this is just a browser.
Pretty smart.
T candidates. Let me just email this over and we'll get it pulled right up there.
Yeah, the red lines don't come out.
Well, that's good to know.
So they don't come out on the browser. You gotta have it in Word.
Okay. That's good to know for when we forward it to the town board for review.
Well, we're not forwarding the red line version, are we?
I would think so.
I would think we'd do what our completed version.
I think they're gonna want to see what we changed. I would think that I would send the two versions like I did, so they can review whichever.
All right, well, given that. Okay, 2.2. The original inhabitants of Canada's.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got it pulled up here. Oh, let me just share a screen so for the recording. With me. Oh, that's weird because this browser is showing.
Yeah, but that's that's probably, is that yeah, that would, but Apple's doesn't. Apple's browser doesn't.
Okay. Okay, we are looking at the original inhabitants section. Okay.
I would take out the first few sentences.
The land acknowledgement?
Yeah, I find it patronizing and I object to it when I hear that said. I mean, basically,
Okay.
we came in and trashed them but I would say the area. start with the area in and around Candice is really haven't been, I mean, that's good.
Okay, all set. I had a feeling, I put that in there recognizing that we may remove it,
Okay.
so I'm
I
totally
just-
fine with that.
I think I was at a event in California where it was this multi-million-dollar complex and we want to acknowledge the people. It's,
They do that at events a lot.
I know, but it's,
And that's
Well-
kind of where I got the idea, but I'm totally fine with removing that.
it just, I mean, you can state the people that live there, but anyway,
Okay,
uh, okay, if we go to, formation of the Finger Lakes, glacial influence, the area's general topographic features, and then the next paragraph where it said the glacier pushed, dragged, and carried large amounts of rock. I don't know, somehow, I don't think did the, it didn't drag.
Well, it's pretty much what happened. Right? Glacier comes in, forms the lakes, pushes things down.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the granite from the area was like moved down from the Adirondacks and in New England.
Well, the granite the large granite boulders are what are erratics and they're brought from the north. They didn't
Mm.
come from the Adirondacks.
Okay, well, directly.
Yeah, but those are, I just found it seemed too wordy.
Okay, do you have a,
Gouged and plucked from the land beneath, no, I know, I guess. I always object when there's too many descriptions in a sentence. That if you can simplify
the
it.
glacier carried large amounts of rock and soil that were scraped, gouged, and plucked? Just remove pushed, dragged, and? Or leave pushed, dragged, and carried large amounts of rock and soil from the land beneath it. Let's choose one of those three and remove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here again, if I was sitting at home, I could use here again, I would put this paragraph through ChatGPT and see if it simplifies it. And I'll look at it again. I apologize because my changes I had printed out, but I didn't print out the first beginning of it. I started the wrong page.
Okay, that's okay. Do you want to just email me about that one? I'll put a note here on my copy that I'm waiting for comments for you.
So 2.3 comments.
Okay, perfect. What's next on your list, Birch?
Two point four.
Okay,
So when you use a sentence like the third sentence, they usually have fairly straight courses that go east or west. I mean, what does it mean? What's a fairly straight course? I don't know, it seems like it could be said better.
Um, I understand what you're saying.
They flow east or west down steep slopes, steep sides of the troughs, but you don't even need to, do you need to say fairly straight courses?
I think,
Finding it a little better, that's all, fairly straight and not meandering down the hill.
Well, is meandering fairly, I mean, I wouldn't even use
I
meandering.
think this is all.
I would just say they flow or
I think we have to be careful here too about getting like super nitpicky. Like this is kind of our final review, so I understand what you're saying. Like it's not super clean language, but
I guess I'm seeing it more as an editor.
yeah.
So
And I
we need maybe a good editor to look at this.
and and this is an update. Like we're not, I tried to add in and update things that were like necessary, but and I see what you're saying, like the language is a little clunky, but do we want to clean up every little bit of language in it, or are we okay with some of the existing parts and just really updating the pieces that need to be updated?
Yes,
Well, I object to if it's not well written.
Okay.
That's
I don't see how this is not well written. I really don't.
okay.
Um, okay. So shows drainage features and most of the streams are very small with straight courses that go east to west on the steep sides of the troughs. Does that make sense? Most of the streams are very small with straight courses that go east or west on the steep sides of the troughs where the streams flow either directly into the lakes or into the inlet or outlet streams.
Or just streams. Steep slides of the troughs. What are troughs? Are they valleys? Are they gullies?
I think it's the section before this, it talks about the troughs.
First individual lakes were created in each trough. But those are the lake formations. Anyway, if you want to leave it that way, fine. Um, I there again, I just think a good editor would be able to tighten up language.
How we're gonna focus on the major changes over the last 10 years when this was first done.
Yep.
Not get into a one. What we're doing right
Okay, I don't
now.
think
Nothing
that
to do with the major changes.
right. But
This is nitpicking and
I wouldn't call it
it's
nitpicking.
nitpick. I would call it nitpicking and beyond imagination. Of anything gets accomplished.
However you want to do it.
I think Caitlin has put huge amount of work into this. And has done a great job. And I would yield to her.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna really get bogged down. And I understand what you're saying, Birch. There are definitely some stuff in here that reads a little clunky. Um, but I think at this point, if it's not factually incorrect or really difficult to understand, I think maybe we overlook clunky language at this point. And if something is really jumping out at you and um, you want to give it a once over and email me the updates, I'm happy to take a look at them. Maybe that would be an easier way to communicate about those.
Sure, I thought you had asked us to go through this and suggest changes tonight, that's all.
Yeah, and we definitely, I think, like maybe we'll just go through like really the changes that I have made and see if there's anything that you have suggestions on in that. And then if there's some of that specific language stuff, cleaning up the language, maybe that would be better.
Yeah, I can work better when we get to farther down
Okay,
because I have that red line, I have my comments and stuff.
okay. Is there a section you want to jump to next, Birch?
I like, well. Got to figure out where I am out. What part is the Honeoye Lake Watershed Task Force? What
That
number is
is
that?
the top of page 7 is section, oops, is section 2.4.
2.4, okay.
Then it is looking.
So you have a comment in there that we need to attach a study as an
So
appendix?
that is a question. So there's a link there. Typically in past plans, they haven't had links like that within the plan itself. The study has been attached as an appendix. So my question is, moving forward, are we comfortable having written links like this in the plan, or do we want to have written links as an appendix or have the full study as an appendix? So I guess those are 3 options.
I'm assuming the full study would be a lot of pages, right?
I would assume so.
So we don't necessarily do that. But maybe as an appendix, we could
Have link.
have the links that
Mhm.
that you, I mean, you could put a footnote here, see appendix for, footnote 3
Mhm.
for a link to the study.
I think
Right.
that would
It's
be cleaner than,
cleaner than actually putting the link here because
yep.
this is going to be written and online, but
Okay, so put because this comes up again later, I think, in this section with the DEC plans. So I think having a consistency like that would be, and then we can have all the studies linked there. Okay.
nitpicking, Honeoye Lake is significant, blah, blah, blah. The southern part of the lake in particular. I would take out the word particular.
What section? I'm sorry.
That's below that link that we were just talking about.
The southern part of the lake. Okay. Yep.
Pick out in particular. I mean, it's the southern part of the lake.
Okay. Got it.
1.5 floodplains.
Mm-hmm.
First paragraph, the last sentence. I would take out the vast majority. It's the majority of the areas.
Sorry, I'm just finding my place here. Oh, in the first, I'm sorry, the first paragraph. The majority of the areas. Okay, got it.
1.6,
Mm-hmm.
you refer to a flood insurance study. What study? There again, you should reference in a footnote.
So I'm still waiting for some update from Ontario County Planning. The flood insurance study was done in like the 90s. So I was asking if there had been an updated one or if there were more recent, like there's been like some FEMA studies and stuff. So I thought I had a comment here, but I must have accidentally removed it.
And I guess
So
part of, when we refer to things that happened in the 90s, that's.
well, that was my issue is it's
No,
outdated,
yeah.
but part of town code is based on that study. So why it
Why is
doesn't,
that?
so, and
That-
I'm not an expert in this area, so I'm probably not gonna talk about it correctly. But the town is enrolled in like that flood insurance program, I think it's called. Does it say it in here? So there's like a program that the town enrolls in. And in order to stay in that program, we have to put certain things in our town code. So like as a planning board, there's certain code and stuff, like people basically, you can't build your house next to a river at the bottom of a hill, next to the lake or anything. It's going to be prone to flooding. There's certain like elevation, it has to, the lowest level has to be above a certain flood year elevation. Things like that are part of our code. And since as a municipality, we're enrolled in that, when people do get flood insurance or are required to, the rate is better because as a municipality, we're enrolled in this program. And I believe there's additional benefits as well. So we have those things in our code and we are enrolled in that. And part of what that is based on is this flood insurance study. So even though it's old, it sets those base elevations and
Right,
things
but
within
then-
that study.
So later in the paragraph, we talk about seriously undersized culverts. But Purcell Hill Road, wasn't that called? It says the culverts have been rebuilt, so
Yep, so
they're not.
the two undersized culverts on town roads have been rebuilt, but many of the undersized culverts are on private roads. So obviously the town has no authority to update those. They're not going to pay for the installation of
Right. All right, so we gotta
I will,
figure out this flood.
yeah.
I mean, we're writing this all on 1990 stuff then.
Again, it just hasn't,
Yeah.
from my understanding, it hasn't been redone, but since our code and this flood insurance program are based on that, I thought that it was one of the instances where I felt like that even though it's dated, that it still needed to be included.
Yeah, because we also referred to it later on
Mhm.
in that same. Uh, 1.7,
Mhm.
end of the paragraph. These soils are fairly acidic. Are they acidic? Or they, I mean, what is fairly acidic? 8.0, 9.3.
I don't think anybody really knows.
So just say acidic.
I'm sorry, the last paragraph?
Consequently, no, the first paragraph in the soils, the last sentence.
The last sentence, okay. Just change to acidic, okay, got it.
Um, and then a suggestion on the last sentence of the second paragraph, the erosions reduced the productiveness, and I would change that word to productivity.
Productive. Okay, got it.
And then the next paragraph, in the middle of it, much of the band is fairly narrow. I would just change it to narrow.
Got it.
And then my spell checker says, and the last paragraph of that page, fine grained sediments have been deposited by flood waters. My spell checker said it should just say flood water. Do you have plural? I mean, it's not plural waters.
I'm sorry, the paragraph that starts with many of the soils?
Drain sediments posited by floodwaters that washed over the flat areas of the bottoms. What in God's name is wrong with that?
You don't need an S on it.
Oh, crap.
And then later in the paragraph, we say all of the areas, and you just say all the areas of Canada.
Remove the word of. Okay.
And next page, where it says all, however, there are some soils that are capable of providing. And I would just change it, can provide good agricultural productivity.
Okay.
And then we get later in the paragraph, my spell checker suggests using soil instead of soils for two of those words. So the middle.
Are there two soils or just one?
Well, it says, the first one says good agricultural soils.
Okay, I got that one.
And then the next paragraph, it's many places may have soils.
Okay. Got it.
1.8.1.
Got it. Or in there, so.
The next page. Oh, wait a minute, where am I? No. Never mind. I'm on,
Forest lands?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the New York State DEC also owns the majority, or my spell checkers suggested change it to much of the valley.
Okay.
And then next paragraph. The rest of the forest lands in the town are private lands, period. And you need to capitalize the next sentence privately.
Got it.
And logging has occurred on all the forest land in Canada instead of all of.
Got it.
Large. All. Forest lands in Canada, I doubt that.
Over the last 200 years?
When you're really looking at something, that probably isn't right.
I mean, there's no old growth forest left. It's all been cut at some point. And I mean, I think all of New York State, there's very, very few sections left that have not been logged at some point.
There's a couple old growth forests to the west, right? In some valley, was it the Zora Valley or?
Yeah,
I
that
think
sounds
there's old
correct.
growth, but everything else at one point or another.
I was talking to Bruce Gilman at the public engagement meeting, and he said that he had been working on a project. They have some aerial photography from the early 1900s, I think it is. And so they've been sort of overlaying so they can do like a time lapse with that to current day. And I said, what's the biggest change that you saw between that time and this time? And he said it was majority of it was logged and being farmed or
Okay.
vineyards and orchards and things like that, which I thought was really interesting. I wouldn't have thought of, because there's so little agriculture here now, um, I wouldn't have thought of that. It surprised me. Okay, sorry. Sidebar.
Page 12. On punctuation, marshes and wooded wetlands. I don't know how that should be this, because you've got bullet points. How do you properly do that? Period, or do you keep the dot, whatever it's called?
Yeah, no, you need the semicolon there.
Page 13, the wetlands located at the north end of Canada, the first paragraph or second paragraph, first full paragraph.
This is the southern end of Canada, wetland.
The wetlands that are the southern end of Canada, yeah. My editor says instead of all of these areas, just put all these areas.
Okay.
Um, the editor again, Cottonwoods, and read the next paragraph down, says high water should be high dash water instead of 2 words.
Got it.
Going to wildlife. The paragraph there about the middle of the paragraph, today more than 170 pairs of eagle's nest. The editor said put a apostrophe. It's on multiple eagles, I don't know, it's, the nest is a,
Oh, yeah, no, that's actually not, sometimes it's not correct. Because it's not, it's using nest as a verb, not as a noun.
oh, okay, I see.
If
what you're saying.
nest was a
Okay,
noun,
yep,
it
yep,
would need that, but
okay. Uh, next paragraph down, it says instead of the DEC, you can just put DEC.
the first sentence, osprey, fish hawks.
Yeah,
Actually, I want to make that consistent. I want to put, how are we referring to it previously? Yeah, we refer to it as the NYSDEC throughout, so I want to keep that consistent.
so you should change that to NYSDEC.
Yep, I just added that in there. I missed that one.
It also suggested instead of habitat as a single, make it a plural, habitats. And next paragraph down, it also suggests on cold water, instead of two words, cold dash water. I don't know how it does, and then it occurs at the end of that paragraph too.
Okay, I got both the colors. Give me 1 second to get caught up here. I haven't been marking, like that to me isn't something that needs to be highlighted in red because it's not a significant change. The meaning isn't changing. Like, so when I've made corrections like that, I'm not highlighting them in red, just so you know.
Next paragraph down, bobcat should be plural.
So that section was written by the DEC. I looked at that one and I would refer, I think that they're correct in using bobcat singular there.
End of that section. This last part of the paragraph, hunting connects people with natural world. I don't know, just seems kind of, I could say that the hunter,
I think it's just discussing hunting in more detail.
existing land use, the map 8, that paragraph. You got 2 commas in there.
The
Commercial comma.
first
comma,
paragraph or the second, they both
First
check.
paragraph,
Okay.
map 8,
Yep.
towards the end of it.
Yep. Oh, I see.
And then you got a space, it should just be and wild, or comma and wild. Got too many commas.
Yep, got it.
Existing land use. Going down the end of the page there. Although there are small lots in the town, most are fairly large, or are they large?
Sorry, I just want to get us caught. What page again, Birch?
15. See, this is old. I mean, I think we've had a lot of subdivisions over the years. Are there that many larger lots left?
That's what you call large,
Right.
5 acres.
I
You
mean,
can't subdivide 5.
there are a lot of lots that could still technically be subdivided. And And that's what this paragraph is talking about. I think that's why they put the qualifying fairly large instead of just large.
Going down to schools, 1.10.2.
Okay.
Instead of relatively smaller areas, I would just put smaller areas. What part of Gibbs Livonia? Is that over 15A? School district?
I wonder if it's like the north part of Richmond. That northwest side maybe over there. I'm not sure exactly.
You're in,
I'm
you're in the
sorry.
Pioneer district, right?
I'm in Honeyway, yeah. I'm sorry, what was the change you said in the school section, Birch?
Just say smaller areas, smaller areas instead of relatively smaller areas. Parks and Rec, we make no mention of Rob's Trail
Oh,
as a recreation. And I think that's all in Canada, isn't it?
I think so, yep. Okay, did you have an idea of where in that section it should go
No,
in?
I just noticed that we talk about buried house there, the state forest.
Okay, need to add. Got it.
So on wastewater management,
Yep,
we have this whole thing about setback requirement 80 foot, but we've changed all that.
it says we had a setback requirement of 80 feet from the lot boundary. Residents could appeal to town board. It just talks about how we updated everything and that's still under review.
What's still under review?
They didn't actually pass that yet, did they?
I thought they did.
I thought the lawyer was looking at it still.
Okay.
So these are existing conditions, so it's just like a snapshot of what's happening now. And that's just talking about how
Right, I
it
thought-
was handled and then how it was reviewed and is being updated.
On the water supply, I just had a comment, foreseeable future, is that ever gonna I mean, I don't,
Which section or which
that
sentence?
it is not economically possible to provide public water service to these areas in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, if there were grants or additional development in that area or technologies
For the town of
change,
Paradise,
potentially.
not in my area. I think that was. That was about it.
Uh, Nothing for the rest of the plan, just those sections?
Yeah, I didn't go through all the tables and stuff like that.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, the tables are what they are. This was one, and I don't know if I said this in the email. It was way too confusing putting all the changes in red on the tables, so I just marked those as complete. Because it was too hard to read. So the tables are what they are. I deleted a couple that either there wasn't current information for or it just didn't seem necessary. And a lot of those we had talked about previously. I had them crossed off from our previous review. I do have one comment. We have a table where we talk about the median value of owner occupied housing units.
Which one is that?
It's on page 33. It's at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't have pages on mine. The
Oh, um,
section,
this is 3.5. It's the last table in, it's the last table at all of the whole third section. I just didn't know. We have this data about the cost of housing, and we know that that's like kind of a hot button issue. I just didn't know if we wanted to talk about that table in more detail or just let people look at the table and make their own conclusions.
It's the last name.
Yes. The
the
section,
comparable values.
the following table compares the median value that owner occupied housing units had in various Ontario County municipalities from 2000 to 2020. So I just didn't know, do we want to talk about what communities have lower housing costs and what communities have seen the biggest change and,
I just let the table speak for itself,
okay.
but it would be interesting, 2025,
Yeah, the huge.
but this comes from the census, so you won't,
Correct. So
Yeah.
this is census data.
but it's what, probably 30% higher?
Oh, mine went up, insane, absolutely insanity.
Um,
No,
then
Now,
what-
these are not assessed value, these are from the Census Bureau? Are these, what's this, what's the source?
the source is the,
US Census Population and Housing
yep.
in Ontario County Planning Department, so I'm assuming we don't know if they use assessed value or,
so it's not- Also, they, where are you gonna find something?
well, the census, I'm not sure how the census does it, but it'd be interesting to know. Not
Yeah,
that we-
I'm sure they use assessed value because they just did that housing study, so. Okay, so section 4 is the public engagement section. That one I obviously updated quite a bit. I put the last comprehensive plan kind of had a few of the survey questions and then some analysis on them. So since I had already put together this presentation, I thought it appropriate to just put that in there. Because it was basically the same information. I did add sections for talking about our public engagement meeting, just detailing our presentation, how many people attended, things like that. Oh, I got a typo there.
4.5, are we leaving that in?
Yes, I'm waiting for, I just spoke to Supervisor Bastola again today. He had to get the agenda out for the meeting on Monday, and then he said this was
But you
very,
had 0 responses to the survey?
but he did some in-person presentations in the school. So I just want to notate that.
Right, but we didn't get any responses to,
We did not to the student survey. But I just want to kind of have a couple, it can just be a couple of sentences. I just need some more information from him. A lot of, we expected, and then we found that a lot of the responses to the survey were similar to previous surveys. So there wasn't a ton of changes in the issues. So I did a little bit of tweaking of these. And I did add a couple that were what I thought were new, were a lot of concerns about drainage and water quality.
Where's
The last two,
that? 0.6 points.
correct. Um, so that was something that kept coming up on the survey that wasn't previously detailed here. And then a lot of stuff about internet access was also something that kept coming up that I didn't think was detailed here. So I just added those two. Is there anything else that you guys found from the survey that was not detailed in these issues listed in the 4.6 section?
Oh, I had one thing I remember. We should put, when the water plant, the filtration plant was built,
Mm-hmm.
we should put the date it was built. Forgotten where that was. I think you just said a plant was built. It would be nice to know what date that was. Was that in the 90s? I don't know.
The one at the north end of Hemlock?
City. Well, it's mentioned in the
Um,
plan.
do you mind looking up that date and emailing it to me? Okay, section 5, opportunities and constraints. I think overall there weren't really significant changes to these. Most of them were pretty minor things that I edited in here. Let me know if there's anything that jumps out at you guys.
1993.
Oh.
It became operational. Thank you, Google.
You're saying in one of the existing conditions sections we already reviewed? Or one of the stuff?
Somewhere in the whole report, there's mention, I think it had to do with turbidity
Okay,
and the lakes. Maybe it was in the watershed or watershed quality. Somewhere mentioned a plant was constructed. It just
water.
put a date.
Livingston County. Livingston County.
Yes, it is Livingston
It
County,
has nothing to do with us.
but we mention it in the comprehensive plan.
Roads and highways. Water. I'm just not sure where.
You do a search on plant? Water plant? I don't know. Anyway. Be nice to have a date with it.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said 1993?
Yep.
I'm sure when I give it another final draft, I'll be able to find it at that point. Okay, opportunities and constraints. Again, there's not been significant changes, so that was all minor stuff. A couple of sections there were outdated. I did remove them. Uh, Anything on that section before we move on to section 6? So section 6 are our plan, assumption, goals, and policies. Again, these are pretty closely based on a lot of that public feedback. Since there wasn't a significant change. A lot of these I just did very slight changes to just to make sure that they're current. Um, so then later in that section, we get into the goals and policies, section 6.3. Um,
In 6.1, do you want to mention that there's a large public land ownership or state land? I mean, Canada's is unique in that way, in that we have so much.
sure. Give me 1 second to get caught up here. I'm sorry, 6.1, is that what you said, Birch?
Yeah, just overview. I mean, we're a rural community. We have a lot of undeveloped forest land, much of which is owned by the state of New York.
I'm sorry. That sentence sounded good. I'm just having a hard time. I'm at the overview. Canadice is a rural community. The town's vast undeveloped forest lands, rolling terrain, Three Finger Lakes, and tributaries provide panoramic vistas. These features, when combined with the existing relatively low density population, are what the town residents want to maintain. Is that where you're saying you want to add?
Somewhere in there that, make a note that, I mean, unlike a lot of towns where you have 100% privately owned, I'm wondering what percentage it actually is. It's probably fairly high. When 10%, 15% of our land might be owned by the state.
If that sits around the lake. Yeah, nice lake.
Harry House, there's a huge parcel, and then
Okay, I can add a sentence in there. I'm gonna just add a general sentence if you want to look up like a percentage.
I don't know if that's available.
Okay.
I just
I'll add a general sentence in there. Okay, so as we look through
and that's a great feature of the town.
the assumptions, anything else on any of those 6.2? And then we get into the goals and policies. So this is one section that I thought would need more updating than it did.
What, all of 6.2 or just?
6.3, I thought was gonna need more updating than it really. I thought these were pretty well written and fairly attainable. The big one is section 3, review and update the comprehensive plan on a regular basis. So this is one we had talked about quite a bit. It currently had the plan being reviewed every 2 years and a written report being prepared. I don't think we have the capacity for that. So we had talked about setting like a certain month where, as a planning board, we say, hey, just checking in about the comprehensive plan. Is there anything that came up in, maybe it's January or, a quieter month? Um, and we say, did anything come up in the last year that we think is there any reason to bring up, an update or an amendment or things like that? So it would be a little bit more of an informal review on a more regular basis, I guess is what I'm saying, is what my understanding was that we had previously discussed. And then based on that, if something dramatically changes with short-term rentals or, we're kind of already doing that with like code stuff. So I think that that would be, we would say, okay, yeah, this is, there's some sort of development that is potentially happening, or we need to look at this closer. At that point, we would form like a working group.
What
But-
other, what do other towns do? Any idea?
I don't know. A lot, well, no, I guess I shouldn't say that. A lot of communities have specific committees like citizen action or citizen implementation committees. So they have committees that meet on a monthly basis to implement comprehensive plans. I just don't think we have the capacity for anything like that. I do think that it's important to like sort of keep it fresh. So I think it's worth having an annual conversation to say, hey, remember these are, and I'm totally comfortable kind of being that person for the planning board too. I can be like, these are the themes that I noticed in the past year. Here's how they relate to the comprehensive plan. Is there anything concerning that would be a reason we need to amend or update our plan? I'm going to guess the answer is probably mostly going to be no. But you never know. It would give us the flexibility that we're not having to do this very complicated written report every 2 years. And yes, they're supposed to be updated every 10 years. It's a 10-year planning document. So
It was adopted in 2015, but didn't they start working on it way earlier or something? I don't know. I had the impression it dragged on.
there's some of the planning periods where they would get bogged down. Um, so and then we elaborate on this a little bit more in a later. This is just kind of a snapshot. And then as that section says at the bottom, chapter 8, it goes into a little bit more detail on that.
Sure,
Um,
someone has to remember to do that.
I will do that. And obviously,
Don't get hit by a bus, okay?
I'm not planning on it.
Okay.
And obviously I want to chat with Ted about it more. As we're reviewing this plan and it goes out to the town board, at that point, I'm hoping Ted will take a look through it and I'd be interested to hear his opinion as well. Again, these are just, most of the changes I made were maybe just to modernize the language a little bit or clarify current programs or services. There's nothing really that was a major change in here besides that one. Getting to anything else on that before we get to section 6.4? Okay. Um. So again, not through this whole section 6, there weren't any major changes. So anything else before we move on to section 7?
No,
So now we get into the plan implementation strategies. So now that we've gone through all this and we said these are our assumptions and our goals and things, so how does that actually happen? Again, a lot of these are just kind of ongoing things. I did update this section. The way that they've been written is just the first 5 years have implementation action, which I think is appropriate. I think it's hard to make anything beyond that that's realistic. So one of the things that came from the survey and that had been a previous goal that I think needed to be expanded on was a more robust communication strategy. So I detailed that there. I removed a few things. I did add a section. There was a lot of stuff in the survey about public utilities, water, sewer, and very specifically internet. So I did add a section there. And part of the reason for that is when you put stuff like this in your comprehensive plan, if a grant becomes available and we have it detailed in our comprehensive plan, we're more competitive for that grant. We can say this is something that our community wants. It is part of our comprehensive plan. It makes it much more. So I know earlier, Birch, you had said, in the foreseeable future, is it feasible? So that's specifically why I put that in here, because of that opportunity for grant funding is increased. And with that said, and I think this is something that it'll be important to talk to the town board about as well. Are there other long-range projects the town is interested in that we want to make sure we capture as a goal or an implementation thing here so that we can be more competitive for grant funding in the future?
where are we putting the pickleball courts?
I did add to one of the recreation sections about, I had a conversation with somebody after that presentation, and they mentioned that the town has a shared services agreement with the town of Richmond for recreation services. And so I did add a section about communicating those recreation opportunities more clearly in the recreation section, because those programs are existing, but maybe they're not being communicated well enough. So not necessarily the addition of recreational infrastructure, but the better communication about
I did notice there
existing.
is a pickleball court down by Sandy Bottom.
Oh, okay.
And I think they just got new nets or something like that, but
Okay.
it was basketball court, then one at skateboarding park. Now it's pickleball.
So they have this large section, implementation actions from earlier revisions of the comprehensive plan. It's dated from 96 to 2000. Do we want to continue to have this section and then update from 2000 to 2020? I'm sorry, it's 7.1.3. The numbers on here aren't necessarily matching with them. Let me get first. Oh, because I have it open in the browser. I didn't follow Birch's advice. So
Did you change anything on it? Can't see it already.
no, because it's just a historical. So do we want to keep this and add that section 2000 to 2020? Or do we think that that's, I mean, I suppose that the history of what happened is important, but I don't know. I guess
I don't,
It's kind of new. It's old.
yeah, I would say,
remove.
yeah.
That's kind of how I was leaning, but I didn't want to do so without chatting with you guys first. I'll make a note to remove. And also, this is a hefty document, right? Like, I think there's more important pieces of this document. So if we can pare down something that isn't adding value, I think that that is helpful and important as well. Okay, so ongoing implementation actions. I didn't have significant changes to those. I thought
So
they
you're
were
gonna have to change the wording of that.
first
In addition, the
7.2.
above list of high priority action items,
So
is that referring to?
that's not referring to the section that we talked about removing. It's
Okay.
talking to this about this.
Okay.
It'll actually be cleaner because there won't be that big section in
Right.
between. Um, anything else before we go on to section 8? So it just kind of talks a little bit about the law surrounding comprehensive plans in the intro there. It talks about how the adoption happens, what that commitment means. And then once we get into the later sections, again, this is kind of where I thought the current structure, and I did confirm with Ontario County Planning, this biennial maintenance report is not part of state law. The only thing that's really required is that you update it every 10 years. Some towns do their plan, put it on a shelf, never look at it for 10 years, and then pull it down and do it again. Obviously, that's not ideal either. How do we find the appropriate balance for our community? So this is
But if we, I mean, if we look at 10 years ago, when there's not that many significant,
there's not a lot of
we
significant
could have put it
changes.
on the shelf.
Well, there were some things that I think, like some of the communication stuff. The last plan called for putting a communication policy in place. Nothing was ever really formalized, especially now that we have created this email program and we know based on the survey that the majority of residents indicated that was the best way to communicate with them. So we have the technology set up, we have people subscribed. Our residents have told us that they want to be communicated with in that way. So let's make sure that we use that. And so some things like that I think are going to be
I think the
um,
whole town
important.
website should be redesigned.
And currently, that was another thing that I thought was really interesting from the survey. The majority residents indicated that the way they're getting information is from the website, but only 10% of people want to get information that way, which was one of the things that really stood out to me from the survey.
Yeah, but if you don't have a website that's easy to get information from,
And so that maybe is part of a communication strategy. And that's kind of what I'm saying here is that as a planning board, we'll take a look in a year from now and we'll say, okay, what were some of our goals? Like, are we meeting them? Is there things that we need to change? And maybe we say, oh, this communication strategy needs to be worked on. So then we would go to the town board and say, this was a goal in the comp plan. Should we form a working group to
So
start working
whose,
on that?
whose responsibility you think in the town should be for the communication? And
That-
maintaining good communication, the planning board or the town board?
That would, I think
just
we
curious.
would have to put together a working group of, people from all the different boards and different positions to be able to figure out what the appropriate. I don't feel comfortable answering that question because I don't know.
Do you have an opinion?
I think it would need to be a combination, I think different parts, there's different, it needs to be multi-pronged, right? There needs to be lots of different approaches. And I think depending on what the particular need is, there would be different people who would be better suited to do it. Do I sound like a
That's an
politician?
unanswered answer.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You don't need to. I'm just curious.
And, I know that there is a cost associated with this, but potentially does the town need to bring on a part-time communications person to help streamline some of this stuff? Um,
Yeah, I think it costs a lot of money to do a nice website, but it's worth,
and, even once a website is redone, it still needs to be maintained.
Yep.
And especially, I don't think this was specifically left for me, but there's a thing here about cybersecurity and, you know, having one sort of designated person as a communication person could help with cybersecurity issues. But there's not really a current structure within the existing um, way things are set up to do that. So I think it's a very complicated and potentially political issue that you'd need a decent working group. But so basically that's a long way, and we're in the home stretch here, guys. That's a long way to say, I think as the planning board, it's our job to maintain the comprehensive plan. So I think doing this informal review once a year, and we say, okay, let's go to the town board and say, it's time to put this working group together, or let's,
yeah.
we,
8.1.2, you kind of lay that out, right?
yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good.
8.1.3, there was a very convoluted amendment process. I don't think anybody has ever applied to amend the comprehensive plan. I thought it was unnecessary. So I didn't really add a lot here. Most of the red section is stuff that I just removed to clarify it and simplify it. I should have opened this in Word and it would have been easier to view. So yeah, this section that starts maintaining the plan? No. It's the section after that, plan amendment path. It's not, for some reason, oh, here it's, this title's right at the top there. So for you guys, it's gonna be on page 90.
What number?
1.3.
8.1.3, but
Yep.
for some reason on this one, it's showing as 5.1.4 to just add to the confusion. So again, basically I said, we'll review the plan.
Yep.
And basically I just tried to simplify this. I found it very confusing and I don't think that it's ever going to happen. So I don't think it's necessary to do a 5-year report. So I just removed those sections. And then again, in the conclusion, I just cleaned it up a little to match what those previous sections said.
The plan not, is not intended to be dynamic in the sense, okay. Do you need that sentence?
Which one,
The
Birch?
plan is not intended to be dynamic in the sense that it will be amended annually. You've already laid out how you're gonna review it.
Um,
Because the next sentence you're saying we're gonna review it informally. And you,
I think I like that because I think it just further explains kind of highlighting the difference between what an amendment is and a review is. Like when we say we're reviewing it, we're not necessarily amending it. I think we're kind of just concluding in a more simplified way these two things. So the glossary will still need a once over. I haven't really had a chance to dive into that. The one thing I did do is I added the short-term rental definition, because that's a new term that we use. I deleted a whole bunch of appendices. So once we get that all finalized, I tried as I was going through to highlight places where it refers to an appendix. And we'll
there's
get,
something, and I don't know what it came up with the county planning. There's modular home and manufactured homes. I think they're the same thing now. I'm not sure
they're
what
not.
it is. There's some weird.
I had a discussion with Mark Malmandier about it. There is a difference.
I would talk
And
to Kyle or Linda.
they, so modular,
Maybe it has to do with zoning. There's it's come up. So just
yeah,
a comment.
okay.
I wouldn't go with what Mark. I would. You may want to just ask someone in county.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
It has to do with, modular manufactured mobile homes. There's some,
Okay, I'll look into it. Um, and then
now you have the glossary here to refer to things in the plan or just,
correct. These are, again, I haven't gone through this with a fine tooth comb.
okay.
Um, but they are, yeah, like I don't, is there any reference to capital improvement program? Oh, yeah, there is. Yep.
Analyzed home, modular, I mean, I don't know.
Um,
Pilot, I don't think we have any reference to pilot payment in lieu of taxes. But if
We
we're gonna
do.
go through them,
yeah, we do have a reference to that. Okay, yep. And then I did, what we're gonna have to do is have, I think, a print and a digital version of the plan. So for the print version, I'll put the maps so they print a little bit larger, but for the digital version, I didn't want them sideways. So
yeah, the question on the print version, is this gonna be in a binder or are we gonna spiral bind it? Or, because I was also thinking on some of the maps, it might not cost that much more to have them pulled out, especially the ones that, the major maps,
mhm.
have you
Let,
don't need to do all of them, but
let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
yeah, I'm just,
Yeah, we had talked about that, I think, when Steve Engard printed these out. He suggested that maybe once it was updated that we did
And
those.
we're not gonna print them until the board has approved it finally.
Correct. Correct. Okay. We did it. Any last comments, questions?
Are we gonna put the new zoning map in here? Are they supposedly gonna they're setting a public hearing?
There's going to be a public hearing at the August town board meeting when we're having our public hearing
So they're gonna set the public hearing
at the July.
this next Monday. Okay,
Correct.
so in theory, it'll be approved. Well, in theory,
Yeah, it's really a town board decision. So
so we'll have the updated.
yes, I let them know that whatever they decide that it could hold up the adoption of this plan if they don't get that finalized in a relatively
Well,
timely fashion.
we can adopt it with the current,
Yeah, and that's true. That's true.
you know,
And like Kyle said, it's zoning is really meant to be a snapshot. It could change, so.
Right.
Okay, let me stop sharing my screen. And recording.